Good evening, or good afternoon. I'm Christine Johnson.
And I'm Dick Brennan. We're interrupting programming for breaking news.
Yes, New York City Police Commissioner Bill Bratton right now speaking to reporters, expected to address several big stories impacting the city today, including the incident at the Brooklyn Bridge last night. Let's listen in.
Thanks, and Deputy Commissioner Miller will be available to speak to relative to the flags on the bridge. When they finish that this presentation, I'll then bring you up to speed on what I've been up to relative to in the aftermath of the Staten Island incident, what the department's been doing, what I've been doing relative to addressing that issue as that investigation and related procedures go forward. So those are the two items, and then we'll be also available in the general questioning if there's anything else that is of interest to you today. I have with me, I've got Benjamin Tucker, who is the Deputy Commissioner for Training. I'm going to be speaking some training initiatives that we're going to be engaging in. And we have next to him Chief of Patrol that Chief O'Neill is going to speak to an additional summer initiative that we launched last weekend that will be continuing into the foreseeable future, going after some of the gang problems in 10 of our more active precincts that are still experiencing, unfortunately, levels of violence out of the norm for the rest of the city. Again, we have, I think you know, Bob Boyce, Chief of Detectives. Bob's available to discuss any of the various crime issues that have been in the press the last couple of days that you might want to follow up on. And then Dermot Shea. Dermot Shea has been working, over to my left, Dermot Shea has been working with Chief O'Neill on the new summer initiative, which is a combination of very focused use of hundreds of additional uniformed officers, but also a very focused investigative component that is going after those that we believe we've identified as creating most of the crime problems, particularly the shooting problems in those 10 precincts. So it's a coordinated effort. We'll open it up for all questions after the three presentations. And then again, if there's questions on any other area, we'll be more than happy to respond to those also. So thank you for your patience again and the delay getting started. John Miller and Chief, you are on.
Okay. Sure, thanks. I'm John Miller, Deputy Commissioner for Intelligence and Counterterrorism. Let's go through kind of the facts and the timeline first. At approximately 8:30 last night, July 21st, the American flags were visible flying on the Brooklyn Tower and the Manhattan Tower of the Brooklyn Bridge. At approximately 3:10 in the morning, which would be July 22nd, video shows us a number of people crossing the bridge, 4 or 5 people in a group and some other individuals. Those people will be of particular interest in this investigation because around 3:30 in the morning, several minutes later, the light that normally illuminates the American flag on the Brooklyn side of the bridge first flickers and then appears to go out. At 3:42 a.m., the same thing occurs on the Manhattan Tower. That light is visible, flickering, and then appearing to go out. Early this morning at approximately 5:30, construction workers on the bridge noticed that the flags that normally fly in the red, white, and blue had been replaced by what appeared to be white flags. Members of the emergency service unit went to the top of the bridge to inspect and document the scene. What they found were 2 flags, one on each tower, that were approximately 20 feet by 11 feet that are actually appear to be American flags with stars and stripes that had been bleached white. They also found, and you'll see pictures indicating this to my left, what appeared to be large aluminum pans that had been affixed as covers over the lights and secured with zip ties. In total, because of the ability to climb up to the top of the tower, which is guarded by a locked gate, and at the time that the emergency service people went up to inspect the scene, those gates were in place and they were locked. For someone to compromise that gate by going around it, continue to the top of the tower, have the right size cover to put over the light, there's some indication of some good deal of pre-operational planning, perhaps some indication that they have experience climbing in construction or in bridge work, or that they may have actually been up there before, looking at the dimensions. We have a number of investigative steps we're going to go through. When we get to the questions and answers, I'll be happy to answer questions about that. Obviously, if anybody has information, we're certainly looking to hear from them about this case. In addition, we are looking across social media, Facebook, Twitter, and other indications or other indicators to see if there's any claim of responsibility for this. At this time, it appears it has no particular nexus to terrorism or even politics. This may be somebody's art project, or it may be an attempt at making some kind of statement, but at this point it's not clear what that statement is. Commissioner?
Needless to say, no matter what the motive was, that it is a matter of concern. I am not particularly happy about the event and have charged Commissioner Miller to conduct a full and thorough investigation into the circumstances. And again, we're requesting the help of the public on this issue. So again, we will answer questions relative to that at the conclusion. What I wanted to do now is just bring you up to speed on what we've been doing since the very tragic death in police custody of Eric Garner last week in Staten Island. That I'm not at liberty to speak to the investigation itself being conducted by the Manhattan District Attorney or the Internal Affairs Bureau of this department that is working in cooperation and collaboration with the District Attorney. I know there's been a lot of media reporting on elements of that investigation, but we will not speak to that or respond to specific questions about anything having to do with the investigation. There is a criminal investigation by the District Attorney for Staten Island, Richmond County, and Internal Affairs Bureau will be assisting in that investigation, identification of officers involved, civilian witnesses. In addition, there's a parallel investigation also being conducted by Internal Affairs that will support the eventual review of this incident from a procedures and policy standpoint, wherein I, as the police commissioner, will look to the behavior of the officers involved in that incident from the standpoint of were they in conformity or violation with any protocols, procedures, policies of the department. That investigation, while parallel to the district attorneys, will be subservient to it. The criminal investigation will take precedent before we conclude any administrative investigation on our part. In addition, this morning that myself and Commissioner Miller and the Deputy Commissioner for Internal Affairs met with the Assistant Director for the FBI here in New York and several of his personnel to discuss their monitoring of this matter. So we had a preliminary discussion with them. It would be my anticipation, based on past experience, that the case will be reviewed by the Eastern District U.S. Attorney, probably in consultation with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, and I would not be surprised if the U.S. Attorney decides to open a civil rights violation investigation. If that is the case, we will, as you might expect, as we did this morning preliminarily in the discussions, work cooperatively and supportively with them. It's also anticipated that the family has, I understand, retained private counsel, and I think we can fully expect that there would be a civil suit that will arise out of this matter. I spent the day this morning, had a hour and a half, almost 2-hour briefing at my request from our Training Bureau, Deputy Commissioner Ben Tucker. I've charged Ben with looking very specifically at the training that might be necessary to address some of the identified issues arising out of the Staten Island incident. But as I've reviewed that incident and reviewed the training in the department, it is my belief that we're going to have to do more than just a review of Staten Island. That the re-engineering process that you're aware of that we've been engaged in for a number of months in the department has disclosed that the department really does need to do a lot more in the area of training. And so I have ordered that Commissioner Tucker initially lead, and I'll probably add to that leadership team, a top-to-bottom review of all of the training that this department provides to its personnel, specifically focusing on initially use of force. How do we train our officers for takedown? How do we train them to use the various levels of force that they're authorized to use, less than lethal, non-lethal, lethal, in an effort to ensure that the NYPD in our practices, policies, and procedures are state-of-the-art. To that end, Commissioner Tucker will be interacting with major city chiefs, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, various major cities around the country to determine where are they in their training of their personnel and where should we be as we seek to move forward. I would anticipate that coming out of this effort that there will be a retraining of every member of the New York City Police Department in the weeks, months, and potential years ahead. In that regard, I am sending also a group next week to the Los Angeles Police Department. Los Angeles Police Department that I led for 7 years, 2002 to 2009, went through a phenomenal review of its use of force policies under the guidance of a federal monitor, federal judge, so that in many instances they probably have the most contemporary policies on use of force training that I seek to take advantage of. So there will be a team of officers going to Los Angeles next week under the direction of Commissioner Tucker to start developing a liaison with the LAPD in anticipation not only of this training review that I'm going to require be done, but also in anticipation of we have a new Inspector General who has been briefed on what we're doing as his office forms. We have a new Executive Director of the CCRB, Richard Emery. Tomorrow, Richard will be meeting with my leadership team, which I'll speak to in a minute, the first time that we come together to work jointly on ensuring that the CCRB and the NYPD are working collaboratively and cooperatively together. They maintain an independence from us, but to be effective, there needs to be an ability to ensure that they have total access to what we're doing. And we need to have a full understanding and appreciation of what they're doing as Mr. Emery goes about a review of the CCRB and where it might need to go. As you're aware, Mayor de Blasio has made it quite clear that he wants this matter addressed effectively, efficiently, and comprehensively. And to that end, he has required that Mr. Emery conduct an initial review, even as he begins his leadership, of the issues around chokehold complaints and other types of complaints relative to neck holds that have been made against members of the department over the last several years. That number is in the several hundreds, it may exceed 1,000. And so his review will be to take a look at what is the history, if you will. And I'm sure he'll be at some point in time be in a position to speak to you about how he intends to conduct that review. We will certainly work with and support any of the efforts that he undertakes going forward. My anticipation is that I'll be in a position to brief the mayor next week when he returns on the training initiatives that I'm looking to undertake and get his strong support and endorsement of it. Because one of the things I think it will reinforce is that this department clearly needs to do more training, and that one of the issues that staffing has impacted on is the amount of training that we do. So I want to be in a position to ensure that as we develop improved policies and procedures, that we in fact also are in a position to send our officers to the training necessary. And that training will be modeled somewhat on what we did in Los Angeles in response to several very well-known crises in that city, including the MacArthur Park May Day police action in 2007. After that meeting this morning and review of some of the training videos that we currently use relative to use of force procedures, I went to Staten Island and I met with the leadership, the department leadership of Staten Island, the borough commander, precinct commanders, and the various command staff on the island to hear what they have been doing during the last several days, community outreach to the officers, guidance and supervision of their personnel, to get a sense of how are the cops doing over there. This tragedy has tremendous impact, certainly, on the family of Mr. Garner and friends, family on this city, but also impact on the officers, not just the officers directly involved, but the officers, particularly in the Staten Island Command. So I wanted to get a sense of how that's going over there. I anticipate I'll be attending a number of roll calls at that command as I do around the city. But I wanted today to speak to the leadership team and get a sense of how it's going. There will be a vigil this evening, I think, as you know. I think it begins at 6 o'clock, and then the funeral services that we will be assisting with will be held tomorrow in Brooklyn. Subsequent to that meeting, I went to and met for almost 2 hours with a number of community leaders, church leaders in the city council offices of Debbie Rose. And in attendance also was Vanessa Gibson, the city council member who chairs the Public Safety Committee. A number of church leaders, community leaders, very good, productive meeting. Effectively, what I've just talked to you about, I spoke to them about, got some input from them. They are seeking, and we certainly will seek to involve community involvement in that training review, and as we develop new training policies and guidelines to ensure that they effectively have a voice in that. So one of Commissioner Tucker's charges will be effectively to ensure that that happens, that collaboration. So we will, as we go forward, the investigation that, again, I'm not able to speak to the specifics of it. It is thorough, it is comprehensive, and it will take time. And needless to say, the lead agency at this time is the Staten Island District Attorney. As part of the effort to work more closely with the CCRB and its new leadership, I'm announcing today 2 appointments that will actually become official at our promotion ceremony on Monday, and those are to the position of Deputy Commissioner for Trials, effectively the judge that oversees our various judges and trials here in the department and that interacts very closely with CCRB, is Rosemarie Maldonado, a very experienced attorney in this city with many city experiences. We have available for you her background and resume, and she began with us on Monday and will be participating in the promotion ceremony on this coming Monday. Additionally, Kevin Scott Richardson will be coming on board as our department advocate, deputy commissioner position. The department advocate is effectively the department prosecutor. And so the 3 individuals that are most closely associated with our disciplinary processes, 2 new people who have begun with us, and I expect to name within a week the new Deputy Commissioner for Legal Matters, Doug Maynard, who is familiar to some of you, has indicated he's going back into private practice, and we have made an offer to an individual who I think will be very well known to all of you. And so I will have a brand new team, a comprehensive team that I have every bit of confidence will be able to work very well with the new leadership at CCRB, the new Inspector General, with the City Corporation Counsel's Office, and with, whenever that person is appointed, the Federal Monitor. So with that, I'll close my comments and open it up for whatever questions you might have on the 2 topics that we've discussed, or if there are other issues that, excuse me, if I have one additional presentation, my apologies, Chief O'Neill and Deputy Commissioner Dermot Shea, to speak on the additional summer crime initiative, where we're doing it and for what purpose, and that will then open it up for any questions you might have. So Dermot and Chief O'Neill, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. In addition to the number of the other initiatives we have this summer, I sat down with Dermot Shea and the Commissioner last week, and the Commissioner asked us to come up with a summer violence reduction initiative utilizing some overtime. So what we did was we drilled down on the precincts in the city, and we came up with top 10 precincts where violence continues to be a problem. We have 4 of them in the Bronx, 5 in Brooklyn, and 1 in Queens. So what we did was, utilizing overtime, in each of those precincts, we're going to put out, on starting from the evening tour on Friday up until the morning tour on Monday. Each of those precincts are going to be putting out, there's 2 components here. There's the uniform suppression component, and I'll talk about that first. In each of those precincts, we're going to be putting out 2 additional sectors, and then we'll put out 1 additional conditions car, and that conditions car's sole purpose is to go down to look at the precinct and take a look to see if there are any problematic house parties or clubs, and bring in whatever additional resources we need to shut those down safely. In addition to that, we have the impact officers. I think everybody knows what impact is. Those are the new officers. We'll be extending their tours by up to 4 hours. Right now, most of them work from 8 o'clock at night to 4 in the morning. We're going to extend their hours We've had an uptick in shootings, non-fatal shootings and fatal shootings from between 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning, so we'll be extending their tours. And also highways involved, ESU's involved, K-9, and we are actually going to use mounted in some of our problematic parks also. The second part of this plan calls for targeted enforcement against what we've deemed to be the major problem with violence in this city, and that's gang and crew members. So in each one of those 10 commands, we've identified gang and crew members, and we're using the precinct anti-crime, the precinct conditions people, the borough anti-crime. We're using gang, narco, to specifically target these groups and conduct enforcement against them. That enforcement will come, some of it will be summary arrest, some of it will be C-summonses, some of it will be surveillance, and some of it will be car stops. So if we have a problem with a certain group, then we're going to target our resources towards that group, and we should see a significant reduction in violence. In that time period from last Friday to Monday morning, we had 12 shootings in the city, and 5 of them were in the top 10 commands. We didn't have any homicides during that period. So Dermot, I don't know if you want to add anything to that?
Just parallel to the top 10 commands and deploying a large number of resources to suppress this violence. There's another aspect to this violence initiative that deals on the investigative side of bringing together a number of our resources through the department. So while we know where the top shooting commands occur, we've also done a lot of targeted identification, as Jimmy alluded to. What are the root causes of some of this violence? When we get into the gang members, where is this violence happening? Are they stationary? Are they stagnant? Are they staying in one command? And what we found with one group is that they run rampant basically through the city. So in addition to the deployment of a number of resources that Jimmy talked about, we're also putting together a targeted package, bringing together on our end patrol, detective bureau, intel, to kind of outside of the box, how can we go about targeting these individuals? And that kicked off this past week. It's being headed up. Its centers on the borough of Brooklyn, but as I alluded to, these individuals, wherever they go, we plan on pursuing them. And we plan on bringing the strongest case to target the violence associated with this group. Brooklyn, by no accident, makes up about 30 to 40% of the shootings in New York City. So it's no secret that in some commands this year that are seeing spikes, when we drill down, we saw a number of these individuals in those commands. So that kicked off this past weekend. We could not rely on the suppression element. We anticipate that this case is going to take some time to build, but we're going to look to make the plan is to build the strongest possible case to get the people off the street that are causing violence for people not only through Brooklyn but all of New York City.
We've already met with the Brooklyn DA last week, Dermot, myself, additional staff members with the DA Thompson and his staff. He is fully on board and supportive of the prioritization of the focus on the gangs and crews that are causing the increased shooting violence in his borough, his county. Meeting tomorrow with District Attorney Bob Johnson up in the Bronx to discuss the initiatives in the Bronx to seek to elicit similar support from him relative to prosecutions. We have met with the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, and we have met, will be meeting with the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District to enlist federal support in these efforts where federal charges might be appropriate. So it's a continuation of the expansion of effort as well as the intensification of focus on those that are in fact committing the bulk of the crime that is being reported in the city.